Hello and welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where we will be dividing this into two stages. The Tale of Woe and what I actually intended to do on the video. The Tale of Woe was extended just now because I made an attempt at recording, which I will put up as a bonus content for just so you know I'm not actually being silly. But the camera played up. I don't know whether the camera is going to play up. It froze. I had to remove the camera and I re-add the camera. I've just had an OBS update, and this strange stuff often happens over the OBS updates, I have learned. And so we are at it. We're doing it again. This will be the fourth possible time I'm doing this anyway. The Tale of Woe. I was having camera problems with the two camera setup I was trying. It's theoretically possible, but it wasn't working. The camera I'm using now was freezing, and it was taking an awful long time to transition from one camera to the other. It should take 30 milliseconds. Didn't. When the camera froze and I had a second scene on with the other camera, I could swap to the other camera and it would get, and that worked fine. But I don't know why it froze this one, and I worked out that it was probably USB bandwidth. So I ordered a USB card, which hasn't arrived. It arrives at the end of the week. So I shall be fitting that, and I shall hope to be videoing that, doing it using this. Now I know it works a bit better. So I decided I would forget the cameras on here because you've already had two examples of the random stuff they do. And I thought two examples of the random stuff they do was quite enough. Thank you very much. And so I'd record it on this, and I'd have it on the camera, and I set it up. But I tried to record it twice on this, and it didn't record anything twice. But unlike the first time I used this for some test things. I used the remote control, which is this thing, fairly standard remote control. And because I need to see what I'm doing, I had the little camera screen, which will turn on in a second, flipped over so I could see it from the front, so it looked like that, so I could actually see what it was doing. You see me in me, picture in picture. See, done it now. Anyway, basically I was doing this, and I had it on a tripod, and I was using the remote controller, and I thought I'd switch it to record, and it recorded nothing. So I thought I'd messed up with these because I'm not very good at remote controllers, and I'd hit record. I'd hit record and twice, and I'd record on, record off because it's an on-off button. Press it once, it's on. Press it two, it's off. So I did it again, and it didn't record. And about halfway, and to add interest, while I was trying to work out what the hell was going on, this thing turned itself off. After some investigation, including reading the manuals, I discovered the problem. This here is the remote control receiver, signal receiver. So when it's over like that, you can't use the remote control. And that is pretty much the way I would use this most of the time, in that I would be facing, it would be something I could glance at and see what was going on, but I can't use the remote control. I can switch it on to record using the touchscreen, which isn't terribly, but I am going to try and find a USB on-off plunger, like the old-fashioned remote camera things. I have had one in the past, and that will make it a lot more usable in this position, so I can see what it's doing and I can switch it on to record. But that's why I didn't actually manage to record two editions. I just now, and that was it turning itself off. Let me put it out of the way. I just now after updating OBS, and I think the problem is OBS update. I tried to record stuff, and the camera kept freezing, and the didn't swap to the second camera because in the meantime I'd removed the second camera because I thought conflict and lack of USB bandwidth was the issue. They're eventually going to be plugged into different USB buses when I get the USB bus, and I will be filming me installing that, which will be the first time I've installed anything in a computer in a long time, but I know how to do it. But basically, when I was filming this the third time, everything locked up and kept locking up, and I had to deactivate and reactivate the camera to get the picture back. I'll post this. I'll post what I did record as bonus content, so you can see what the problem was. And if anybody knows anything about video, you know, a bit more effort, an explanation from someone who knows what they're doing would help. I'm getting my video editing guy in on Friday at some point, and I'm going to have a chat to him in here if we'll both fit in this tiny little office. And in order to record this, I had to delete the video input device, and then I had to add it again. And it's the same video input device. It's the Logitech one at the top. So next stage is to get the card in and to see what happens from there. But it's all fun and games, this whole video thing, and as if I didn't have any more hobbies or things I need to do for the job. There really needs to be several of me with specialised skill sets. This, by the way, is another crisis that occurred. I've run out of coffee. I've run out of milk. This is black sweet tea, which sort of will do the job coffee does, but you need to drink 3 or 4 times as much of it, and that can have an unfortunate effect. Anyway, that's pretty much the tale of woe so far. There may be a second episode to the tale of woe, but I'm rather hoping not. I'm rather hoping that if I install everything and get everything up and running, it will behave itself and I can plug and play. What I actually am going to do, the gaming part of this, and I'll get this out of the way, I'll finish this tea off before it goes cold. Cold sweet tea is in. Cold black tea is horrible. Cold black tea is even more horrible. So we have that. Next stage, now I've told you the tale of woe, is the thing I was going to talk about. Now, I've probably shown you these a few times. This is a dungeon floor plan section. And I've done these and I've got them in various stages of assemblage. This was just a piece of corridor. And I've got bits with doorways on it. And I'm using, basically I'm sticking these, which are little 15 by 30 3mm thick bases, and they're being stuck to the edges of the 3mm here, like that, and I'm tiling the whole lot over. I'm not sticking onto this because it's just it's finished pretty much. I might put a coat of varnish on it. If I do, it'll probably be the dip followed by the matte spray. But that was another minor drama. I've run out of matte spray and I'm posting stuff that needs spraying again, and I need to get some brush varnish that will behave. Anyway, these little bases, I decided that I might think about putting some doorways on them, and I wasn't sure how to do this. And my very lovely friend Ross of Kraken Games said I can do that because he has a laser cutter, sorry, and he made a load of these. And I'll open one of these up to show you what they actually are. Actually, I'll get these are the double doorways. Sorry, single doorways. I've got a double doorway open. And basically, they are. Thick of these. I think they're two. I think they're. I'll put these in a box because I've got a great load of them. What you do with these, bollocks, bother, is that they get they fit on a 30mm base, and you get a doorway. Because the idea is that I use these to film on, and whilst there are some really, really nice dungeon floor plans and things with walls, it's very hard to see what's going on in things with walls and to get camera angles and camera line of sight. So that's going on there. If I'd have thought about it, I'd have done the door a little narrower, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some 10mm wide bases and run them up and do that with them. So you've got, is that 3mm? Yeah, that is 3mm. Basically, I'm going to get some 10mm what's it from wall bases when I do a next order, and we're going to get them boxed off a little bit. Won't put one across the top because that will get in the way of the camera more. So you'll have, I'll get a set of these. This is 15mm wide, so they'll be 10mm wide, so they'll be narrower, and there'll be a little bit of wall on either side. But that's what I got, and I got some double doors as well, like this. And again, they'll need reinforcing. These fit on a 60mm base. This passageway is 6mm wide, and I'll be doing the same thing. Won't be sticking them on. I'll be sticking them on before I put the tiles on, and I might tart the edges up, put an arch, fill it round and make it look like it's got stonework on it, and obviously paint it grey to match the rest, everything else when I paint things. But basically, that was what I was going to do, and I was going to do a proper unboxing of it and show you what they were. I also, in this, got some little wedges. Now, these are the roofs of these houses. And this is from wall bases, and it's one of their set of Dark Age, early medieval houses. And unlike most wall bases stuff, it's got a fixed roof. Now, I like to be able to get into buildings and put figures inside them and stuff like that. I also thought the door was a bit big, so what I'm doing with this one is I've blanked the door off with a piece of cardboard, and I will be putting a door on there and building some door frames for it. So I've got a door hand, but basically I'll be getting some of wall bases doors, and I should be putting one in there, and then I should be building a structure around it, probably with matchsticks. And I'll be painting this up, but I wanted a removable roof. And these clever little soles allow me in a removable roof because they fit there, and I can use them to support the roof. I can then remove those tabs so the roof sits on top of them. You find them one for, I've got a pile of roofs here, and I'll show you the one for this one. There are various sizes. Most of them are in the currently down in the, I think that's this one. And yeah, this needs a bit of flexing. As Warbase's engineering is always a little bit more precise than, but basically that I believe is the one for it, and it would fit over both, possibly a bit faffing about, but it would be fixed. What the plan is to, that is the one for it, right. What the plan is to use these diamonds to connect them up underneath, which is the same thing that most of the other wall bases with removable roofs work. So you've got, and then I do put thatch on top of these, paint them, tart them up, do my usual sorts of things with them. So that's what I was going to do with them. I was also going to get some curved bits, semicircles, so I could do rooms with semicircular ends on them. Unfortunately, very cleverly, I forgot to order them. I'll put them on the next order. I'm going to be getting some of Ross's stuff. Ross Whitethorn is Mr. Kraken Games in the way that I'm Mr. EvilGinger, and I should be getting some of his stuff. These will get used for all sorts of games, from D&D to Hackmaster, which is a first edition D&D style game, and it's got coming to Kickstarter for a more polished edition, 25th anniversary edition, because it takes them that long to get an edition out. At some point this year, and I'll be backing it, and I'll be posting about it, and generally creating some froth about it, because it's my favourite D&D style game, and it's my joint favourite fantasy role-playing game with RuneQuest, which I've played a lot in the past. Basically, these will get used for D&D like games. They'll get used for Frostgrave, for the breeding pits, and I just generally think they're cool. And I've got rather a lot of them in various stages of completion. There is also a film which of me showing the construction. What they are is effectively a base, an ordinary MDF 3mm thick base, with pieces of box card. Some of them are cereal packets. Some of them are the many additional boxes of figures that come across, and they're just painted grey. They're sprayed black, and then painted grey and various dry brushes, so you get a visual texture. I did consider putting a physical texture on them, but the thingy, a bit more of a physical texture on the stones, but I've actually ruined stuff like this with putting a physical texture on it, because the mostly the glue I had was too good. I did the trick where you put white glue on there, and you put bicarb over the top of it, and I've got something that looked really horrible. I could show you. I'll post some pictures of the test pieces that I've still got down in the workshop. And these also work for insides of buildings. Say if I'm doing a building that's very similarly attacked for Frostgrave, I can do the floors like that. Indeed, I've got one which is my bandit hideout, one of my bandit hideout houses, which have got floors done like this inside it. And they're set up to look like the subfloor, because the top floor would have been planked. But these, as I say, I've got a selection of them downstairs. They come in 6s, and I think there are 2 sets, and these are also available from Warbases in a painted format, and they're really cool if, unlike me, you don't like painting and tarting up buildings. And they're doing Roman ones, and they're doing Western ones, and they're really good if you want something that's straight out of a box and isn't going to cripple you financially. I think the unpainted versions of these that I got were 35 quid for 6 houses. And again, they're going to be based on that I'm going to build gardens and yards and things. So these are going to get lots of use, hopefully, and you'll see them in film with my signature milliput thatch. Anyway, because I assumed this was going to take an awful lot longer than it actually did, I was especially thinking that the Tale of Woe would go on for much longer. We will be doing a bit of modelling on here. Now, I don't have the buildings, the rest of them, but I'll at least show you what these look like and what they're for. Let's say, I normally don't like 3mm thick, but 3mm thick is a bit more structural. So what I'm going to do is put glasses on. That's another part of the Tale of Woe. I need more glasses because I broke the arm off this one and it's glued on. I have another pair, but obviously I'm going to need a replacement fairly soon, because the ones I've got are the ones I use for when I'm out and about and I need magnifying a bit more. So I'm going to put these on, look absolutely stunning as I do, and I'm going to do these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use super glue. Super glue works really well on MDF, but I don't. But it's not recommended unless you need to do something structural. This should be thick. As I say, super glues are super glues, and what I do is I just put a little bit on this here. You could do it with white glue, which is what you're supposed to do, but white glue would take several hours to go off, so apologies for the top of my head. And I need to stick this so it's right up against the top edge there. Then we'll stick another one. I'll show you what I've done. Like that. I'm sticking them just inside the holes where the clips would go, so that they've got a clearance. And then when those are thoroughly set, I'll put that right up against the edge that time. Still working out how to do this. So we've got two of them. Some of the bigger roofs might need another one as a stiffener, but I think this one might get away with two. But when that's gone off, I'll then glue the other bit like that. So we've got the two like that, so they're nice and lined up. So you've actually got a completed roof. And then I saw off the tabs on here, and it will sit on top. And I will be, once I've got the prototype worked out, be doing those for the Etsy shop, along with my other buildings, which hopefully will get a bit more action now that pillage is a thing, and lots of buildings are the sort of thing you actually need for pillage, and for Baron's War, which these all fit in the period. These probably will work anything up to the Tudor period as sort of minor buildings, hovels, that sort of thing. When I do them, I may very well put cardboard, thin cardboard, over the woodwork, and I will definitely be putting a little bit of texture on the wattle and daub on the outside, so it looks a bit rough. I'll either use thick paint, probably an emulsion, nice beigey colour, and just dot it on so you get a bit of texture. In the past, I've done plaster render for effects on things, but wattle and daub isn't smooth, and it adds a bit to the verisimilitude if you do that. I could also, if I'd thought about it, used a base inside there rather than a piece of card. As you can see, the piece of card is a piece of soldier box, the same as I used on the floor plans. And this one, I think, might need the floor sticking down a bit more, because probably should have clamped it a bit more, but it's going to be stuck to a base, a bigger base, so, and it's going to be set up as a housing block, and then a housing block. I haven't got, but I want to get a copy of Traitor's Toll, and I will be using these for Traitor's Toll as well, along with a version of the barricades that I'm building. Riots are a thing. I don't know whether they're a scenario, but they might very well be a scenario, and I'll be doing some more roadworks. These are some that I'm in process of doing for the, well, they're done basically, for the cemetery, but I will be going downstairs to do the cemetery in the workshop, as I will have access to the rest of it, which is laid out on the table down there. But that's you'll be seeing pictures of that as I do it. You've probably seen pictures of me starting, but with things that were going on, mostly me moving stuff out of the beta site, my workshop looks like a well-organised hoarder's house at the moment, and not that it isn't that way anyway. And I finally found a wet palette I like. Not a wet palette as such, but a little palette thing. Cheap. Little egg cups from the Evil Rainforest entity. These were gifted to me by my lovely mother, who decided that she didn't like them and could I have use of them. Yeah, well, that's what I used as a paint pot when I was doing these and painting the barricades. And they're quite useful if you've got quite a lot of stuff and you don't want it to waste paint and you want it to keep going. You can also put a little base across the top of that. Ideally, they'd be a bit heavier because clumsy me knocks everything on the floor, especially in this office. So, but they're not a bad idea as paint pots. Now, I think that might have actually set. So, what I shall do is I shall put my glasses back on, and I shall. Now, these have got two sides. Normally they don't. Normally the wall bases ones are, it doesn't matter. But as these have got a nice edging on them, as I say, these are the unpainted versions of the ones that Warbase is selling, are also selling coloured in. And all they've done with the colouring in is that they, I think, just painted them over the top, and they're quite pretty. So that's the outside. So that should, at least in theory, get this lined up right, because so if it's inside the slots, it'll fit on the roof. But when that's off, you see, it's together like that. You put a ridge pole down there, and I normally use where are they? I've still got some on the floor because I knocked them off the table. And use these, which are beard shedding toothpicks, and you set them across along the roof line like that. You can use dowel like that, and you trim them to just fill that gap. Of course, they're just structural. They're just to reinforce that joint, and they'll be covered over by milliput because you'll put a milliput ridge in there mostly. In fact, you do it without a milliput ridge, but since I've discovered the advantage of these and they've got all sorts of other uses, I'm going to be using them. But basically, that's how I'll be doing all the roofs, and I shall be making lots of use of the young Ross to do more of these. He also, that's getting back to the unboxing and digging stuff out, I forgot to mention, where did I do with it? There were some, there are, if I can find them, and I haven't knocked them on the floor, a very, very nice, what is one of Ross's models. And I've not seen that many of them unpainted. I don't know what I've done with those, but I might have knocked them into another. I'll have to find them. But Ross sent me a freebie, which I didn't ask for and was very nice of him. And I'm going to use it and a few others as nasty dungeon creepy crawlies. But I think I have finally done this video, and I think after what is probably slightly over half an hour of me, you might actually have had enough of me for today. And I, of course, will be posting the version before this, where I was fixing OBS and weird stuff was happening for your amusement as a bonus content. But this is going up on, and it's frozen again. Right, it's frozen again. Right, and I'm getting a Windows Explorer error that there's a problem with a USB device. So I'm going to have to look into that, but at least I got the episode done, and you've had 30 minutes of me whittering on, mostly animated. So with that, I will call it. Thank you very much if you've watched this far. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as I will get a video editor who might be able to work out what on earth I keep doing wrong with everything. Take care, everybody, and goodbye.